Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. And this is the review of the new action thriller film from the team that brought us such a classic from back in the 97. Yes, David Fincher, director, and a story that's written by Andrew Kevin Walker, The Killer, which will premiere on Netflix this upcoming Friday, November the 10th. And this film stars Michael Fassbender in the title role. Starring alongside of him, you also have Alice Howard and Tilda Swinton. And the plot of The Killer uh, follows a assassin who goes on an international manhunt after a hit goes wrong. This film I was highly anticipating for everybody that was involved in this. I am a giant, huge, colossal David Fincher fan. Going all the way back to Alien 3, even though he doesn't like that movie. He doesn't even credit that movie, but I actually enjoyed Alien 3, his first film. But oh my goodness, after that, it every film this man puts out is amazing. I mean, Seven, as mentioned before, you have The Panic Room, The Game, Fight Club, The Curious Case of Benjamin Buttons. The list goes on and on and on. This man is an amazing filmmaker, and all of his films have this tone, has this feel of just dread. You know what I'm saying? Seven is one of my favorite movies of all time. Still to this day, I absolutely love that movie. And him teaming with the writer from that film for this film, Andrew Kevin Walker, I was like, okay, we're in for a treat. And then this film stars Michael Fassbender, who I feel is probably the most underrated actor in Hollywood. He is amazing in everything he's in. You may know him as playing Magneto in the X-Men films as of late, or what other movies he was in? The Prometheus, Alien Covenant. The dude is an amazing actor. He just be in some bad movies. But he's never the problem. It's just being some bad movies, going to some of those X-Men films, which weren't good, but he was good in it. Going to I think it was The Snowman or something like that. I forgot the name of that movie. It was a serial killer. He was hunting a serial killer. That movie was horrible, but he was awesome in it. And then Assassin's Creed. And I was mad because that's one of my favorite video games to play. And I thought that was perfect casting, him in that role. And that movie was horrible. Well, I am happy to report we don't get that this go around with Michael Fassbender. He, of course, is outstanding in this role, in this film, but the movie itself is truly outstanding. I think this is a sneaky kind of a Academy Award film. You might see this sneak on to the ballot. I don't know. There are some little problems I have with it, but I'm gonna go over that in a few. But overall, this was an awesome movie. This film is based off of a French graphic novel of the same name. I really got to get into that and find that novel, those graphic novels, and see what they were about. I love this character of the killer, and that's his name. We don't know his name. We never get to hear his name throughout the film. But I love the way this film is constructed, the way that we are really going on this journey with him, with the character, the killer. It's narrated. We have the narration by Michael Fassbender throughout the film, and he doesn't talk much as far as the character is concerned, but we get a lot of story, a lot of explanation through his narration, and it just worked perfectly. It was something like a old noir detective story, but it's flipped on his head where we get in the perspective of the killer, the villain here, because at the end of the day, he's an assassin, singularly focused, calculated, and just menacing. Man, he gives this menace to this character that is frightening. I mean, it's not menace to the point where he's like brooding and it's just some, I don't know, like a comic book villain type menace. I'm talking menace in the sense of just his presence, his aura, bruh. And what makes it so unique, and the reason I'm talking so much about Michael Fassbender, he's in every scene of this movie. The film is called The Killer, and you get nothing but the killer. I don't think there's a scene that doesn't have Michael Fassbender in it. He is in. This is truly his movie, and he does an amazing job holding it down. I thought the supporting cast was well constructed. You don't have any big names here, and I think that was a smart play because you don't want to overshadow the star, but at the same time, they're not on screen that much, that often. Some characters I wish were on screen more often, and namely Tilda Swinton, who is a phenomenal actress, and the scene between her and Michael Fassbender in the third act of this movie is awesome. Is awesome. I love that scene, and I wish it was more of it. That's that's my knocks with it. The scene with him and Allis Howard. Allis Howard, who I remember way back, back in the 80s movies that he was in, and he was a younger man then. But either way, I love that scene. All the supporting cast, they did a job. They came in, did their job, and they left. There were no lingering characters throughout this film. But the way the story was constructed, it worked. It really worked. And I enjoyed every single minute of this movie. It's a slow burn. It's a slow burn. Now, this isn't a long movie by no stretch of the imagination. I don't even think it's 2 hours. It may be an hour, 50 minutes, something like that. But it at moments, it felt it felt a little long. But if you're in for the ride, if you're committed, if you're focused, if you dedicate yourself to watch this movie, you're in for a treat. Let's talk about the direction here from David Fincher. I mean, what can I say? The dude is phenomenal. He does a really great job of setting the tone, of telling this story, and it's not a fantastical story. It's not a story where you sit back and you're like, okay, he's gonna jump off a plane. He isn't Jason Bourne. He isn't John Wick. He isn't what's Tom Cruise character name? Ethan Hunt. He is none of that. He is none of that. He is just a killer. He is an assassin. He just come to kill you and go on about his business. That's it. There's no action like that. There is one scene where there is an actual fight, an actual altercation, which went on for about 5 minutes. It felt like a hand-to-hand combat fight with the killer and this other bad guy, and it was nice. That was a nice, brutal scene. I mean, that was a brutal fight, and it was shot well in a contained space in this house. Brutal. Very brutal. The violence is the violence. People get shot in the head. It's a movie about an assassin. It is what it is. But that was excellent. I think the writing here was spectacular as well. Going on this little globe-trotting adventure, and it's weird the way that we go through it. There's no spectacular landscapes that he's going to, that he's traveling to. You know what I'm saying? He's going from Paris to the Dominican Republic to Florida to New Orleans even. Hey, shout out. And he's going to New York. He's going to all these places, but it isn't like he's going to the Eiffel Tower or there's no spectacular landscapes, but it looks beautiful. It's like showing a different part of these areas, that you normally see in film. We see Florida, but we see the little swampy area in Florida, the backwoods area in Florida. You go to New Orleans, I don't think we get one shot of the landscape in New Orleans, but as soon as he got there, I was like, yep, that's New Orleans. I know that. I know where that is. you know, it was just the back areas, and so on and so forth. Wherever he was, I just loved the set designs and the landscapes of it all. Really good. I mean, spectacular. I think that is really smart because this isn't a character who would be out in the open. He would be traveling on those back roads and, you know, laying low in the areas of the city or whatever city it is, that normal people won't travel to. So I like that aspect of it. I do have a gripe or two. This wasn't perfect, and I'm kind of hurt by that because I was enjoying it so much. It's two things. Number one, the whole basis of this mission, this self-defined mission that he's going on, this revenge tour that he's going on, I get it, but it wasn't established with the relationship why he's going on this little revenge tour. That's the part they kind of cheapened us on that. We didn't get a backstory with that. Why he feels the way he feels about this individual and the relationship between these two people and why he goes on this mission. You figure it out, but it really wasn't I don't want to say laid out because I don't want to sit there and be like, oh man, they gotta lay everything out for you. No, I just it would have felt the payoff at the end would have felt like it's earned. And I didn't get all that. And speaking at the end, the ending was kind of blah. it was kind of a it was kind of a letdown at the end. It just ended, He did what he did and it ended. I mean, it was some satisfaction in some of the things that he was doing. What most of the stuff that he was doing, but once he gets to that final boss level, it was like, it just didn't have that pop, and the movie ends. But overall, aside from that, completely enjoyable film. It doesn't kill the movie by no stretch of the imagination. Like I said, I understand every element of the film. I understand why they went this route. I understand why it ended the way it ended. I just wish it would have ended a little better. But overall, this is one of the best films of the year. I don't know if it's one of David Fincher's best, but it's definitely up there with one of his best. The Killer, which is currently in theaters, will be released on Netflix this Friday, November the 10th. Gets a letter grade of a B+. It is an excellent movie, well paced. Speaking of Fincher, this doesn't really feel like a Fincher film. It kind of feels like a who's the director of the Ocean movies? The Ocean 11, 12, and 13. Oh, what's his name? Soderbergh. I can't think of his first name, but it felt like a Soderbergh film. I don't know why, and that's not a bad thing because he's an awesome filmmaker in his own right. It just didn't feel like it. And at times it felt like Fincher, but at other times it felt like Soderbergh, which is cool because I think it was a good mix of both. Anywho's B+, check out The Killer, which will be on Netflix this Friday, November the 10th. I want to know, have you checked it out in theaters or are you waiting for it to get on Netflix? Let me know. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also look me up on all social media platforms. Just look up the KB Radio Network. Also, look for the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube. Subscribe and like this video if you don't mind. Also, don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of the new film, The Killer, coming to Netflix this Friday, November the 10th. I want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.